Jai Gurudev, today we have two distinguished guests, an officer from the Vedic Dharma Sansthan and an expert from the art of living. We'll be discussing some fascinating aspects of the Ramayana, particularly focusing on Mandodari, Ravana's wife, and Lord Ram meets after Ravana's defeat in the exile of Lord Ram, Lakshmana, and Sita. Let's start with the Mandodari officer. Could you shed some light on Mandodari's role in the Ramayana? Yes, Mandodari is one of the most interesting and complex characters in the Ramayana. She was not only Ravana's wife but also a woman of great wisdom, grace, and virtue. Despite being married to Ravana, a powerful but unrighteous king, Mandodari was deeply disturbed by her husband's actions, especially his abduction of Sita throughout the epic. He tries to counsel Ravana, urging him to return Sita to Lord Ram and avoid war. She is portrayed as compassionate, intelligent, and morally upright, often acting as a voice of reason. That's an insightful perspective, expert as someone deeply connected to the philosophy of the Ramayana. How do you view Mandodari's character and her role in the aftermath of Ravana's defeat? Yes, Mandodari's role after Ravana's defeat is indeed poignant. When Lord Ram meets her after the battle, she doesn't display any bitterness or anger. Instead, she is resigned to the tragic fate of her husband and family. Her conversation with Ram reveals her deep understanding of dharma or righteousness and how even great kings can fall if they go against the laws of dharma. When she speaks with Lord Ram, it is not out of malice but a realization that Ravana's actions led to his demise, which was inevitable. Mandodari's grief is one of acceptance, and she holds no grudge against Lord Ram as she recognizes his divine mission. That's a profound reflection. Now, shifting to the exile of Lord Ram, Sita, and Lakshmana. Officer, in your opinion, what was the significance of their exile and how does it shape the story of the Ramayana? Yes, the exile of Lord Ram, Sita, and Lakshmana is a central theme of the Ramayana. It's a test of their commitment to Dharma. Lord Ram, being an ideal son, follows his father's command without question, even though it is a great personal sacrifice. His exile is not just physical but symbolic of the challenges that comes with upholding Dharma. Sita and Lakshmana's exile is equally significant. Sita's unwavering loyalty and love for Ram despite the hardship showcases her role as an ideal wife. Lakshmana's sacrifice accompanying Ram into the forest highlights the importance of brotherhood and loyalty. The exile is a journey of transformation, self realization, and ultimately the victory of good over evil. Expert from a spiritual standpoint, how can we interpret the exile of Ram, Sita, and Lakshmana in terms of personal growth and development? From a spiritual perspective, the exile represents a period of detachment, self discipline, and spiritual evolution. For Ram, it is an embodiment of the principle of renunciation, renouncing material comforts to follow the path of righteousness. Sita's patience, purity, and devotion during the exile reflect the strength of faith and the importance of inner peace. Lakshmana's journey with them teaches us the importance of selfless service and the bonds of family on a deeper level. The exile can be seen as a metaphor for the inner exile we all face, the struggles of life that push us to grow and realize our higher purpose. Just as they return victorious to Ayodhya, we too can emerge victorious from our trials when we hold fast to Dharma. That is fascinating. So, in many ways, the exile becomes a transformative experience not just for Ram and his family, but for the reader as well. Officer, would you say that the Ramayana and specifically the exile period provides us with the lessons for dealing with life's challenges? Absolutely. The Ramayana offers a treasure trove of wisdom on how to navigate life's challenges. The exile teaches us resilience, sacrifice, and the importance of staying true to one's principles, even when the world seems unfair. Lord Ram's unwavering adherence to Dharma, despite the personal cost, is a powerful lesson in integrity. Similarly, the way Sita handles her trials with grace and patience without succumbing to despair provides a timeless example of strength, and Lakshmana's selflessness demands us of the value reminds us of the value of loyalty and duty to those we love. Thank you both for your thoughtful insights. Before we conclude, could you share a final reflection on how the Ramayana continues to inspire us today? Yes, the Ramayana is more than just an epic. It is a guide for living a righteous life in today's world where we often face dilemmas between right and wrong. The teachings of Ram, Sita, and Lakshmana provide us with clarity. The Ramayana teaches us that righteousness, when followed with integrity, leads to victory in the end, even if the path is long and filled with obstacles. I would add that the Ramayana also teaches us about the importance of duty, dharma, and sacrifice. It's not just about achieving personal success, but about serving others and upholding the greater good. These teachings are timeless and relevant, especially in our fast paced modern world where values such as patience, perseverance, and moral integrity often get overlooked. Thank you both for sharing your wisdom today. The Ramayana, as we see, offers us profound lessons on life, duty, and the pursuit of righteousness, and its relevance continues to resonate across time. Jai Gurudev, and let's continue the discussion, officer. From a psychological perspective, how would you interpret the character of Mandodari? Many view her as a tragic figure, yet she shows remarkable strength. How does she embody resilience in the Ramayana? Yes, that's an excellent point. Mandodari is indeed a figure of psychological depth. On one hand, she is a woman caught in the conflict between her loyalty to her husband and her understanding of right and wrong. Throughout the Ramayana, she expresses her concerns about Ravana's actions, yet she is trapped in a relationship marked by his pride and arrogance. This internal conflict is something many can relate to in life. The challenge of being torn between personal loyalty and moral responsibility. Mandodari's strength lies in her ability to stand firm in her values, even when those around her are blind to them. She represents the power of inner wisdom and restraint, which, although often overlooked, is crucial in moments of emotional turmoil. Expert, do you think there is a deeper philosophical lesson we can draw from Mandodari's wisdom and grief? Could her character be a metaphor for the balance of justice and compassion? Absolutely. Mandodari's character brings forward a beautiful balance between compassion and justice. She recognizes the destructive path Ravana has chosen but continues to approach him with a sense of compassion, yet she never loses sight of Dharma. Her grief after Ravana's fall is not the grief of a widow consumed by vengeance or hatred. Rather, it's the sorrow of a woman who sees the consequences of a life lived without spiritual guidance. In this sense, Mandodari teaches us the importance of maintaining compassion for others even in the face of their mistakes. She exemplifies a form of non attachment where we remain deeply caring but do not lose ourselves in the suffering caused by others' actions. That's a beautiful insight. Moving on to Lord Ram's exile. Officer, many have questioned why Lord Ram, who was an incarnation of the divine, would have to endure such hardships. Can we view this as an example of divine humility, or is there a deeper symbolic meaning behind this suffering? That's an interesting question. Lord Ram's exile is not just about suffering in the human sense, but about setting an example for humility. His decision to accept exile, despite being the rightful heir to the throne, shows us the concept of divine humility, but at a deeper symbolic level. His exile can be seen as a lesson in detachment. Ram, though an incarnation of the divine, chooses to live as an ordinary man, subject to the laws of fate and the choices of others. This teaches us that even when we are faced with great injustice, we must maintain a commitment to righteousness. It's also symbolic of the idea that even divine beings must fulfill their roles within the cosmic order. Their actions are not dictated by personal gain, but by the higher purpose of Dharma. How does this exile of Lord Ram resonate in modern spiritual practice, and when can we draw parallels to the struggles we face today, both individually and collectively? Yes, the exile of Lord Ram is a powerful metaphor for the trials we all face in life. It reminds us that challenges and hardships are not always avoidable, and they are not necessarily punishments but opportunities for growth. Spiritually, it represents a period of separation from our higher selves to the divine. In modern spiritual practice, this could be seen as the times when we feel disconnected, lost, or detached from our true purpose. However, just as Ram and Sita emerged stronger from their exile, we too have the potential to emerge from difficulties with greater wisdom and clarity. Ram's exile teaches us that rather than resisting adversity, we should embrace it as a means to cultivate inner strength, patience, and resilience. That's an enriching perspective. Mandodari's encounter with Lord Ram after Ravana's death also presents a unique moment of dialogue. Officer, what can we learn from the interaction between them? Yes, the dialogue between Lord Ram and Mandodari after Ravana's defeat is one of the deep moral and philosophical reflection. Mandodari does not seek revenge. Instead, she acknowledges the inevitability of Ravana's downfall due to his unrighteous actions. Rama, on the other hand, listens to her with respect and empathy, which is crucial. He does not treat her as a wife of his enemy, but as a wise woman deserving of his compassion and respect. This moment shows that even in victory, one should show grace and humility. He also teaches us that we must learn to separate the actions of an individual from the individual themselves. Mandodari, though the wife of Ravana, is shown respect because she, unlike her husband, adhered to a higher moral compass. expert, the Ramayana is often seen as a story of the victory of good over evil. But what do we make of the more complex characters like Ravana, who is both a villain and a learned scholar? And what does this character say about the nature of good and evil? Yes, Ravana's character is perhaps one of the most complex in all of literature. On the one hand, he is depicted as a great scholar, a devout worshipper of Lord Shiva, and a capable ruler. On the other hand, his ego and arrogance lead him to commit egregious acts like the abduction of Sita, which ultimately leads to his downfall. This duality of Ravana's character reflects the complexity of human nature. In the Ramayana, we see that good and evil are not always clearly defined, and even the greatest of minds can be led astray by pride and desire. Ravana represents the danger of excessive attachment to power and the neglect of dharma. His downfall serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of ignoring higher principles, no matter how great one's accomplishments or knowledge may be. That's a powerful message. Finally, officer, how do you think the Ramayana and specifically the characters of Ram, Sita, Lakshman, and Mandodari can help us in our personal lives in navigating relationships, challenges, and ethical dilemmas? Yes, the characters of Ram, Sita, Lakshman, and Mandodari are timeless examples of how we can lead a righteous and meaningful life, even in the face of immense challenges. Ram shows us the importance of adhering to Dharma, no matter the cost, while Sita teaches us unwavering devotion and the strength that comes from faith. Lakshman exemplifies selfless love and loyalty, while Mandodari's wisdom and grace remind us of the importance of balance in relationships, especially when they are fraught with conflict. Each of these characters, in their own way, provides us with a template for how to navigate the complexities of life with integrity, compassion, and wisdom. Thank you both for this enlightening discussion. It seems that the lessons of the Ramayana continue to be as relevant and transformative today as they were in ancient times. Jai Gurudev, as we continue exploring the Ramayana. It's very important to note about Mandodari's role and the way she handles the entire situation. I would like to delve into the concept of leadership in the story. Officer Lord Ram is often hailed as the ideal leader. What do you think makes Ram's leadership so exceptional, especially considering his time in exile? Yes, Lord Ram's leadership is unparalleled because it is built on the foundation of Dharma, the righteous path. While in exile, Lord Ram is not just a king without a throne. He is a leader who leads by example. Even in difficult circumstances, he remains calm, just, and focused on his duties. His leadership qualities stem from his ability to put the needs of others first, as seen in his unwavering protection of his family, his commitment to justice, and his decision to follow his father's command even at the cost of his personal happiness. His behavior during exile also teaches us that true leadership is not about power or authority, but about responsibility, sacrifice, and the ability to inspire others through integrity. It's about making choices that benefit the larger community and the greater good, even when it seems personally difficult. That's a powerful understanding of leadership expert in today's world, where many leaders are often judged by their results and material success. How can we apply Lord Rams's leadership model to contemporary situations? Yes, Lord Rams's leadership model is a refreshing contrast to the contemporary emphasis on results and material gains. His leadership is focused on virtues like patience, self restraint, and the long term well being of society. Lord Ram doesn't make decisions out of personal ambition or for immediate rewards, but for the greater good, which is an essential lesson for modern leaders. In today's world, we often see leaders who are driven by ego or the desire for immediate success. But Ram's leadership teaches us the importance of ethical decision making and sacrifice. He shows us that true leadership involves serving others, keeping one's integrity intact, and fostering a sense of community. Leaders today can learn from Ram the importance of making decisions that align with ethical values, even when they come with personal cost or difficulty. That's an excellent point. Rams's leadership is grounded in values. Now, turning back to Mandodari officer, one might say that she was in a deeply challenging situation, being the wife of Ravana, who was a powerful but flawed ruler. What can we learn from her ability to navigate that difficult dynamic? Yes, Mandodari's role as a wife of Ravana provides a profound lesson in the complexities of loyalty, love, and moral conflict. She was a woman of great moral clarity, but she was also trapped in a relationship with a powerful man whose arrogance and desires often clouded his judgment. Despite her position, she never stopped trying to steer Ravana toward righteousness, even though she knew he was unlikely to listen. Mandodari's ability to continue loving and caring for Ravana while maintaining her own moral compass teaches us about the complexities of relationships. It's about being loyal and loving, but not blind to the mistakes and wrongdoings of those we love. She shows that one can maintain love and compassion while still standing up for what is right. Her wisdom lies in the balance between standing by someone and knowing when to let go or speak out against their wrongdoings. That's a great insight into Mandodari's strength, expert in modern relationships. We often find ourselves in challenging dynamics where we are torn between loyalty and moral values. How does Mandodari's character guide us in balancing love, loyalty, and righteousness in our personal lives? Yes, Mandodari's role speaks directly to the challenges we face today in personal relationships. Her example teaches us that love does not mean unconditional acceptance of harmful behaviors. True love involves holding space for the other person's growth while remaining anchored in your own values. Mandodari loved Ravana, but she never condoned his actions that were detrimental to Dharma. In modern relationships, we often encounter situations where we must choose between loyalty to our loved ones and loyalty to our higher principles. Mandodari shows us that it's possible to maintain both. Love is about helping the other person evolve, even if it means challenging them or making painful decisions. Sometimes that means speaking out when we see destructive patterns, even if it risks conflict. Yes, Mandodari's strength was in her quiet wisdom, and her ability to stand by her values even in the face of intense personal turmoil is something we can all learn from. That's a profound lesson for navigating relationships. Moving on to the theme of sacrifice officer, the Ramayana is full of moments where characters, particularly Lord Ram and his family, sacrifice their personal desires for a higher purpose. How does the theme of sacrifice play a central role in the Ramayana's narrative? Yeah, sacrifice is one of the key themes in the Ramayana, especially in Lord Ram's journey. His decision to go into exile, despite being the rightful heir to the throne, is the epitome of sacrifice. By choosing exile, he chooses his duty to his father and his kingdom over his own desires. Sita's sacrifice in following Ram into exile, and Lakshman's sacrifice of leaving behind his home to accompany Ram, also highlight the importance of selflessness in upholding dharma. These sacrifices are not about martyrdom, but about choosing a path that serves a greater good. The Ramayana shows us that sacrifice is not a loss, but a gain in spiritual growth, in deeper understanding, and in strengthening the bonds of family and duty. In the context of contemporary life, sacrifice could mean putting aside personal gain for the well-being of others, or staying committed to higher ideals despite temporary discomfort. Expert, how can we apply the principle of sacrifice in today's world where many are focused on instant gratification and self-interest? Yes, in today's fast-paced world where the emphasis is often on immediate rewards and personal pleasure, the concept of sacrifice may seem outdated. However, the Ramayana shows us that true fulfillment comes from the sacrifices we make for the greater good. In modern life, sacrifice can take many forms, such as giving up short-term pleasures for long-term goals, prioritizing the welfare of others, or choosing the path of integrity even when it is difficult. Sacrifice doesn't have to be grand or dramatic, it can be the small daily choices we make to uphold our values and serve the community. It's about understanding that what we give up in the material world is often returned to us in the spiritual fulfillment and a sense of inner peace. The principle of sacrifice is a reminder that we are all interconnected and our actions have consequences that affect not just ourselves but everyone around us. Such a relevant perspective, especially for today's world. Finally, officer, as we reflect on the Ramayana, what do you think is its ultimate message and what is the legacy of Ram, Sita, Lakshman, and Mandodari for our future generations? The ultimate message of the Ramayana is the triumph of Dharma over Adharma. It teaches us that righteousness, compassion, and wisdom will ultimately prevail, no matter how dark the circumstances may seem. The characters of Ram, Sita, Lakshman, and Mandodari exemplify virtues that transcend time. They remind us that we must act with integrity, show compassion even in difficult times, and uphold justice even at personal cost. Their legacy is not just about following them as heroes or heroines, but about embodying the values they stood for: commitment to duty, loyalty, courage, and compassion and wisdom. For future generations, the Ramayana is a guide on how to live a righteous life, face challenges with grace, and work toward a greater good for all and society. Thank you so much, officer and expert, for this enriching and thoughtful discussion. The Ramayana's lessons continue to guide and inspire us, offering timeless wisdom for navigating both personal and societal challenges. Jai Gurudev. Jai Gurudev, as we continue, let's explore the theme of spiritual evolution. Officer in the Ramayana, characters like Lord Ram and Sita undergo immense trials and transformations. How can we interpret these challenges as a part of their spiritual growth? Yes, spiritual evolution in the Ramayana is deeply intertwined with the concept of dharma. Lord Ram, despite being the incarnation of the divine, faces trials that challenge him, not only on a personal level but also on a cosmic level. The exile is not just a physical journey but a spiritual one where Ram is tested in his adherence to Dharma, even when faced with personal loss, betrayal, and hardship. His trials, including the battle against Ravana and the challenges in rescuing Sita, are transformative. Each test brings him closer to the divine mission, to his divine mission, reaffirming his identity as the ideal man committed to truth and righteousness. Sita's spiritual evolution is equally profound. Her purity and unwavering faith in Ram, despite the harshest of trials, such as the kidnapping by Ravana and the period of exile, demonstrate her strength and inner evolution. For Sita, the trials are about embodying divine devotion and standing firm in her principles, even when subjected to scrutiny and misunderstanding. Expert, how can we apply the lessons from the spiritual journeys of Lord Ram and Sita in modern spiritual practice? Yes, the spiritual journeys of Ram and Sita teach us that true spiritual growth comes from embracing life's challenges with an unwavering commitment to higher values. In today's life, we often view spiritual growth as an abstract or personal pursuit, but in the Ramayana shows us that it is also deeply connected to how we navigate our relationships, our duties, and our ethical choices. Ram's trials remind us that adversity is not to be avoided, but rather seen as an opportunity to strengthen our connection to the divine, to stand by our values, and to maintain integrity even in the face of suffering. Sita's trials, particularly the way she remains steadfast in her devotion and faith in Ram, highlight the importance of inner resilience and trust in divine will. In today's world, where external validation is often sought, Sita teaches us the value of inner validation, remaining true to ourselves. Regardless of public opinion or external circumstances, the key takeaway is that spiritual evolution is about remaining centered in the face of external chaos, consistently aligning our actions with our values and embracing trials as opportunities for growth. Another profound theme in the Ramayana is the tension between justice and vengeance. Ravana's actions towards Sita lead to his eventual defeat, but some critics argue that Lord Ram's war against Ravana was motivated by vengeance. Officer, how do you see this conflict between justice and vengeance in the story? Yes, it's a nuanced question, and the Ramayana provides a deep exploration of this theme. While it is true that Lord Rama is motivated by a sense of justice in his battle with Ravana, the story also illustrates the emotional complexities involved. Ravana's abduction of Sita was not only an affront to Rama but also to Dharma itself, which is the divine law. Ram's actions are not driven by personal vengeance but by his duty to restore cosmic balance and uphold Dharma. This is why, despite Ravana being his adversary, Ram always treats him with respect, as a warrior never shows animosity toward him personally. Yes, Ram's adherence to Dharma also prevents him from taking revenge based purely on emotion or personal loss. He focuses on the greater good, the restoration of justice, peace, and righteousness. His actions are aligned with cosmic principles, not a personal vendetta, which differentiates this battle from mere vengeance. The defeat of Ravana is thus not just a personal victory, but a victory for the restoration of Dharma. Yes, that's an insightful perspective, expert. Many people today struggle with the emotions of anger and vengeance, particularly when they feel wronged. How can we apply the lessons from Lord Ram's approach to justice in resolving conflicts today? Yes, Lord Ram's example shows us that justice should be rooted in the highest moral standards and not driven by personal emotions such as anger or the desire for revenge. In modern conflicts, whether personal or societal, when we respond out of anger or resentment, it often leads to further cycles of conflict and suffering. The true path of justice, as exemplified by Rama, is not about personal retribution, but about upholding a sense of fairness, balance, and responsibility to the greater good. Ram's treatment of Ravana, despite being his enemy, shows the importance of maintaining dignity and respect even in the face of wrongdoing. In today's world, this lesson can be applied in how we approach disputes, whether in the workplace, personal relationships, or even larger societal issues. Rather than acting out of ego or seeking revenge, we must seek resolutions that uphold righteousness and contribute to the greater well being of all involved. Shifting gears a bit, the role of women in the Ramayana is another topic that generates a lot of discussion. Mandodari, Sita, and other female characters in the epic each have distinct roles. Officer, how do you see the role of women in the Ramayana, especially given the cultural and societal norms of the time. Yes, the role of women in the Ramayana is complex and multifaceted. On one hand, women like Sita and Mandodari embody the ideal of patience, purity, and unwavering devotion. Sita's strength, as seen in her trials, particularly during her abduction by Ravana, positions her as a role model of resilience. She does not succumb to despair despite the most harrowing circumstances and remains steadfast in her faith to Rama in Rama. Mandodari too shows us the power of wisdom, restraint, and compassion. Despite being the wife of Ravana, who represents Adharma, she is portrayed as a beacon of moral clarity and reason. However, the Ramayana also highlights the social expectations and restrictions placed on women, especially in Sita's character. Sita is often seen as the epitome of the ideal wife who sacrifices her own comfort for the sake of duty and love. This realization can be problematic when viewed from a modern perspective, as it may seem to limit women's autonomy and agency. Expert, how can we reinterpret the role of women in the Ramayana in today's context, where gender equality and women's empowerment are central themes? Yes, reinterpreting the role of women in the Ramayana for the modern world requires a shift in how we view the virtues exemplified by characters like Sita and Mandodari. The Ramayana offers powerful lessons about inner strength, resilience, and wisdom, qualities that transcend gender. Sita's unwavering faith in Rama, a strength in adversity, and a commitment to Dharma can be seen not just as feminine virtues but as universal qualities that anyone, regardless of gender, can embody. Yes, Mandodari's wisdom, though often overshadowed by Ravana's tragic flaws, also represents an important dimension of female leadership, one that is based on clarity, empathy, and insight. Today, we can look at these women not just as passive figures who suffer, but as active agents of transformations who, through their wisdom and resilience, challenge the norms and expectations placed upon them. In modern terms, we can say that the Ramayanas women teach us about the power of inner strength and the importance of standing up for what is right, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Their journey is about owning one's identity, challenging injustice, and maintaining one's integrity, values that are deeply relevant in the fight for gender equality today. Jai Gurudev, this has been such a rich and nuanced discussion. Before we wrap up, officer, would you say that the Ramayana has any relevance when it comes to modern ethical dilemmas or moral decision making? Without a doubt, the Ramayana provides a profound ethical framework for decision making. The characters are constantly faced with moral dilemmas, and the choices they make often transcend the personal desire for the greater good. Lord Ram's decision to follow Dharma despite the personal suffering it causes him is the epitome of moral integrity. His journey shows us that the right decision is not always the easiest one, but it is always the one that upholds truth, fairness, and righteousness. In a modern context, when we are faced with ethical dilemmas, whether in our personal lives, careers, or larger societal issues, the Ramayana encourages us to think beyond immediate gratification or personal gain and to focus on the larger impact of our choices. Thank you, both officer and expert, for your thoughtful and enriching insights. The Ramayana offers us a timeless and profound moral guide that resonates with us in every era. Its lessons in leadership, justice, and spiritual growth and ethical decision making are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. Jai Gurudev.